Hey, what's up, everyone? Tim here. This week on the Whiskey Week in Review, two new Campbeltown distilleries, a new release by Teeling, and we're going to take a look at my 5 favorite reviews of the past week. And if you stick around till the end, one of the biggest sales I've seen in Scotch whiskey at one of my favorite whiskey stores. Stay tuned.
Missing someone with all your
First, let's look at some news from the past week, starting with 2 new distilleries in the Campbeltown region of Scotland. Now, of course, Campbeltown has 3 distilleries now and historically has been one of the biggest whiskey spots in the world. Once home to over 30 distilleries, now only the 3, Springbank, Glen, and Glen, Scotia. 2 new whiskey distilleries are in the works, the first being the Machrihanish distillery, founded by the Isle of Risay distillery founders. This one's going to be the first farm-to-bottle distillery in the Campbeltown region, meaning everything will be local in their production of the whiskey. The capacity is expected to be about 450 liters, and the hope is to break ground sometime in 2023. That's going to be followed up by the Daluaine distillery. Now this one is founded by the founder of the North Star Spirits and South Star Spirits, Ian Croucher. This one is expected to have a capacity of about 850 liters. Both of these distilleries are very welcomed in the Campbeltown region, just because of the limited whiskey that comes out of the region and how sought after it is. It'll be nice to expand that and to have more options. So I look forward to trying out some of their whiskeys over the next several years. Next in news is a new release by Teeling. So Teeling is an Irish whiskey, and it's really kind of under the radar. This is some of the best whiskey that can be bought and at an exceptionally good value. Now, this one might seem a little pricey at around $130 to $150, but in my opinion, it is well worth that, and the drinking experience is even better than the price that you pay. This one in particular is part of their Renaissance series. This is their 5th release of the series, and this one is finished in Calvados cask. Each one of the releases from the Renaissance series is finished with a different type of wine cask, and this one in particular comes from the Calvados casks, which is an apple brandy from France. This one's still widely available, and just take a look around online to find out where you can buy it. Now let's take a look at my 5 favorite reviews from the week. All the links to these reviews can be found in the description below. Starting with a new whiskey review site called Dramface, created by Roy from Aquavitae. This website is a collaboration between other whiskey content creators and writers. They express very interesting perspectives and thoughts on whiskeys and whiskey history. Definitely check out their website, Dramface. This whiskey in particular is the Daluaine 15-year-old. Now, Daluaine is a whiskey that is most often used as a part of a blend. So when you have the opportunity to buy it as a single malt, absolutely go after it. Most of the whiskeys are at least very good. Some of them are great. This Daluaine 15 is by a fairly new independent bottler called Watt Whiskey. Definitely check out their review in the link below and see what Dramface thinks of this new whiskey. Next review on the list is the Bimber Apogee, reviewed by Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey. Vin, of course, one of the best and long-standing reviewers on YouTube. Trying out the Bimber Apogee. Bimber, of course, is a British distillery, and most of their releases sell out fairly quickly. This Apogee is a more affordable release by them. Take a look at Vin's review on the link below to find out what he thinks of it. My next favorite review of the week is a Battle of Campbeltown Whiskies from Rob at Whisky in the 6. He is comparing the Springbank 18 with the Glen Scotia 18. Now, Springbank 18 is one of my favorite whiskeys. The most recent batch has been panned a little bit compared to previous batches, and he does a direct comparison with the Glen Scotia 18, which is supposedly provides fantastic value for what you're getting, especially for a Campbeltown whiskey. Take a look at Rob's thoughts and his comparisons in the link below. Which one does he think is the better whiskey? Find out by checking out the link. Next on the list is another comparison. This one, the Battle of Islas. The Scotch for Dummies compare the Ardbeg 10 with the Laphroaig 10. And I've already talked about the Ardbeg 10, one of the best values in Scotch whiskey, in particular in Islay. It's a 10-year-old 46% ABV whiskey, usually priced at around $50. And how does that compete with the Laphroaig 10-year-old, a Islay whiskey that is bottled at 43%? I would have to imagine Ardbeg 10 is the better whiskey, but is that what the Scotch for Dummies think? Take a look at their link below to see how much they like each whiskey, which one they think is better. And finally, Malt Muser takes a look at the Glenlivet 12-year-old versus the Glenlivet 12-year-old Illicit Stills Edition. Now, the Illicit Stills Edition is a Glenlivet 12 bottled at 48% compared to 40% of the standard release. The 48% would seem to give this one, the Illicit Still one, an advantage in a direct competition. Check out Malt Muser's review below on the link to see which one he prefers. And finally, for this week's episode, a huge clearance sale by Really Good Whiskey. They are changing shops. They need to unload inventory, and they have some of the best discounted whiskey I have ever seen online. And it's not just 5%, 10%. Sometimes they're wiping out even more than that. Take a look at the link below, see if there's any whiskeys that intrigue you. And in case you missed last week's episode, you can check out the link right here on the screen. Thank you for tuning in this week.